Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. My name is Jordan Aberzees, and I am the Senior Content Marketing Manager here at Critical Start. Today, we are going to discuss achieving the full operating potential of your SIEM. If you have any questions at all during the presentation, please feel free to submit them to the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We will allow time for answering questions at the end of the presentation. All right, let's get started. I'd like to introduce you to your first speaker today, Jen Bonacci. She's our Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Critical Start. All right, Jen, take it away.
Thank you so much, Jordan. I'm honored to have this opportunity to be one of the speakers today and speak with all of you about how to maximize and achieve the full operating potential of your SIEM. A SIEM is a powerhouse of activity, ingesting logs, correlating events, monitoring users, performing analysis, proving compliance, and delivering reports. And all of these pieces need to be configured, implemented, maintained, and optimized. As subject matter experts, I'm not telling you all anything you don't already know. But what you may not know are the 6 ways you can maximize the efficiency of your SIEM. The strength of your security posture depends on a well-managed SIEM platform. Without that management, your SIEM is kind of like this cake. Not that great, really. And you deserve better. Just like a cake can't be baked with only a few things, a SIEM can't reach its full potential without important ingredients like better ROI on total cost of ownership, better cybersecurity effectiveness and efficiency, keeping the SIEM current, access to expert cybersecurity professionals, and increased business efficiency. These key ingredients are put together to create the solid layers that make up the foundation of your SIEM investment, including administration, customization, data, and managed detection and response services. Because honestly, you do deserve a solution that provides better threat detection and prevention across your organization. So I'm sure at this point, 2 things are going through your mind. One is, man, I really wish I had a slice of cake right now. And 2 is, this is all great information, but how can I make this happen? Well, I can't help you with the cake, but I can turn you over to Stephen Rosenthal, who will walk you through the details of how to achieve the full potential of your SIEM investment, including the 6 ways Critical Start helps you maximize the efficiency of your SIEM with comprehensive security solutions tailored to your organization's needs. Stephen?
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the opening. You've made me extremely hungry and wanting some cake right now. So why don't I kick it off and get started? Let me go ahead and read you this quote. I don't typically read a slide, but I think this quote is extremely important. So this is from Gartner in the 2022 Gartner Market Guide for Managed SIEM Services, which it states poorly deployed SIEM configurations will impact performance when the SIEM is being spun up, when it is operational, and when improving detection or maintaining current detection logic. So what does all that mean? Really, to boil it down, a misconfigured and mismanaged SIEMs are issues that many companies struggle with. As Gartner highlighted, the security and threat detection challenges that appear and are compounded when a SIEM solution is poorly deployed and managed. And a poorly deployed or managed SIEM, that's going to have repercussions throughout the entire organization. It's not just going to affect the specific part of the organization, but it really will affect the entire organization. But there is a holistic, frictionless way to overcome these challenges. And you ask yourself, how? Well, and then that is by partnering with a company that both administers your SIEM and operationalizes it by connecting your people, process, and technology for comprehensive security coverage specific to your organization, right? And who is that? Critical Start. All right, so let's move on. All right, so the slide that we're on here is showing you what our managed SIEM offering is. And the way that we describe it is, I always say you're never going to build a house on top of a poor foundation. So the bottom part here that you're seeing is your SIEM administration. This is the part of our managed SIEM offering. So as part of managed SIEM, we do what we call ingest cost analysis. And I'll go into this a little bit deeper as we get through the presentation. We help you with planning and deploying the SIEM and configuring it. So plan, deploy, configure. It goes back to that Gartner quote that it's extremely important to make sure that SIEM is deployed properly to get the most value out of it. As part of managed SIEM, we do health monitoring, again, to make sure that all the log sources are coming in properly. Something hasn't gone down that's preventing that log source to be ingested. We also offer the services around customization. So we can customize log sources for you. So if you have a specific application that you have written in-house that there's no out-of-the-box threat detection for, we can help write that for you. And then customized dashboards. These become extremely important around compliancy. As you go through audits around PCI, HIPAA, or other compliance reasons, you're going to want some customized dashboards that you can bring up, and show your auditor, hey, here's exactly what we're capturing, and here's how we're capturing it. Now, if you look at the top of the triangle, this is what we've always offered as part of our SIEM MDR offering. This is our managed detection and response system. So that's your threat detection. So we can scale and mature that. We have alert management. We have risk assessment guidance. So we're always working with our customers to make sure that we're collecting the right information and provide the most value out of that threat detection that we're getting in. And our security expertise. Our SOC is manned by extremely experts in the security field. It's run 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. There's always somebody here live to watch your environment and make sure that it's being managed. All right, the next slide is kind of looking at a holistic way of how our SIEM offering or our SIEM solution is presented to you. So we do that by delivering our services in a strategic alignment with the needs of your security team by offering a combination of management and oversight of your detection tech stack. Even for highly complex security use case designs, content creation, delivery, and continuous content revision, right? So again, if you look at this entire, everything that's listed here, the bottom is what we're managing. We're managing the deployment. We maintain that environment by making sure that your environment is up to date, that we are on the most current version of whatever SIEM that we're using. If there's any hot fixes that come out, we would manage that for you, making sure it's always optimized and tuned, and all the licensing is kept up to date. First line triage, which is done by our SOC. And I already spoke about the customized and reporting that we can do as part of our managed SIEM offering. All right, let's go into the 6 areas that Jen talked about at the beginning. 6 ways to maximize your SIEM ecosystem and ensure that you're getting your full value out of that. So number 1, the migration and implementation. We work with you and streamline the migration from any legacy SIEM providers that you might currently have and work with you on the implementation of that. We have an implementation team that gets assigned to you and plans out that step by step and migrates that with you and migrates the data sources that are being onboarded. We install any default standard data sources and visualizations into our ZTAP tool, and we connect your SIEM, to ZTAP, which I just said. Again, it's all, we want to make sure everything comes over in the right way and set up correctly initially. So we're here to help you step by step along that journey. All right, so what log sources are we going to look at to bring in? And if you look at this slide and as it builds out, everything that starts from the left to your right, the leftmost side of it, which is your host systems, your firewall threats, your cloud security, your VPNs, et cetera, give us and gives you the highest ROI on threat detection. So we relate this to the MITRE attack, and you can see this in ZTAP, how you are being protected based on the MITRE attack framework. And we get the most value out of the host, the left-hand side. As we move to the right, so things like database and physical security, right, and DHCP, this is where we actually get the least amount of security value into our tools. And we would just want to optimize that by making sure we're getting the host systems, the authorization, the auth logs, the cloud security, et cetera, into ZTAP, and work on, in the middle with the EDR, the web services, the WAF. Those are very important, but this really shows you visually how we base our ROI on the threat intelligence that we're going to get. All right, number 2, we're going to minimize the cost with security experts who understand your environment. So this goes back to the configuration that I talked about. We're going to do an architecture review of your existing configuration. So if you already have Splunk Cloud or Sentinel installed, we're going to take a look at that and make sure it's architected in the most optimal way. We're going to recommend any settings that could change it or make it even more optimal. And also look at the security log sources that are going into the SIEM to make sure we are getting the most value out of that. We're going to work with you on installing and configuring the log sources, onboarding and configuring of the SIEM user interface. So we're going to, again, step by step, that integration team is going to work closely with you. Once it gets installed and configured, we go through what we call an alert baselining and tuning time period. So what we do over a period of number of weeks, it's usually 3 to 4 weeks, is we put it in tuning mode. So literally, and we always do, take in every alert. We always take in every alert. That's part of our system, but we don't alert on every alert. So we want to work with you in tuning and make sure that we're alerting on what we should be alerting on. If alert comes in that is, we expect it to come in and it's a low priority, we can set the system up to do that. So that's part of the tuning, like I said, 3 to 4 week period that we work with you and make sure it's tuned to your environment. We set up any initial playbooks, and the playbook is how should the SOC react when an alert comes in. If it's doing A, B, and C, we make sure we have a playbook that they follow. If it's notifying, this particular resource within your organization by calling them, emailing, texting, we have those phone numbers, email addresses as part of the playbook, and we know who to contact for a specific alert. Configuration of APIs and the log parsers. Again, any item that we're taking in firewall, we make sure those APIs are set up properly and the log parsers are coming in correctly. And configuration of SIEM applications within the app marketplace. It all goes back to making sure that configuration is set up optimally, so we're getting the best threat content and value out of that SIEM configuration. All right. So your SIEM is contextual. Your SIEM is contextual, so effective response guidance requires investigation and correlation across multiple security tools. What does that mean? It means that it's necessary to find and stop threats early in the attack cycle, right? We want to make sure that we find them early and be able to react to them as early as possible. Extend the incident response beyond SIEM. So SIEM is one tool within your arsenal. And just-in-time experts, add just-in-time expertise to your team. So our SOC becomes an extension of your security team. We become part of your security team and we act as one. Number 3, quickly access data relevant to your specific security and compliance use cases. So content is extremely important. I've said this on multiple slides already. What are we taking into the SIEM? What log sources are we taking in to make sure we get the greatest value out of that? So designing and building detection and reporting content, that comes back to some of the specific content related to your company. If it's custom content, that's included as part of our managed SIEM offering. And we deploy use cases across various log sources. So we're looking at the content that's coming in. Creation of detection content is something that our security engineering team does. So again, we're taking in that security value and getting the greatest value out of it. All right, operational monitoring. As part of managed SIEM, we keep the environment up and running. So that's all the operational pieces of it. And we want to maximize and keep your total cost of ownership predictable. So as part of managed SIEM, we do quarterly service reviews with you. And as part of that, we do ingest cost analysis. And I'm going to get into ingest cost analysis on the next slide. So I'm going to hold off for that one slide. We do remote performance, availability, and capacity monitoring. So we're going to look from a health check perspective, make sure everything is performing the way that it should be. And we're not running any issues into getting those log sources into the SIEM. And we are always investigating any security issue that comes up. So all of those operational tasks we take off of your shoulders and put them onto ours. Let me go a little bit more detailed into what the ingest cost analysis does. Because one of the most important components of our managed service, we believe, is our ingest cost analysis. To my knowledge, no one else in the industry offers this. This means Critical Start will help you optimize, and this is specific to the Sentinel right now, they'll optimize your Sentinel cost. Many customers don't routinely audit and manage their SIEM ingest. Many SIEMs becomes roach motels. You know, what comes in doesn't come out, garbage in, garbage out. We want to make sure that it just doesn't become stale. So we're going to do, quarterly checks with you and do that ingest cost analysis in Sentinel to make sure that you're ingesting the most valuable logs, but not only ingesting the most valuable logs, but ingesting them in the Sentinel into the right log type. So you have the analytical and basic type of logs within Sentinel, and Microsoft charges differently based on how you're taking those in. And we're going to work with you to make sure and make recommendations of what goes to basic and what goes to the analytics. And we can do recommendations on your data sources based on the MITRE ATT&CK threat coverage and potentially remove some sources that have no security value. But don't take this as looking at necessarily cutting your cost. We're really optimizing it, where you could, if there's any cost savings, you would potentially use that in some other place within your organization. So we can look at what cost model you're on within Microsoft. There's pay as you go. There's commitment tiers that we can look at helping you move to. You can change with Microsoft every billing cycle. So every billing cycle within Microsoft is 31 days. We can take a look at what billing cycle you're currently paying on and work with you on moving that to a more optimized way of paying them. And again, I know I said this, but recommending certain logs that can go to basic or to analytics. And that's on a quarterly basis as part of that quarterly service review. All right, we're getting there. Number 5, tech management. Goes back to that roach motel. We don't want to set it and forget it. So we want to work with you and maintain your SIEM, and it's going to maintain it with confidence, right? Because we're going to maintain that for you. If any updates come in, going from version to version, we're going to work with you to set up. We're just not going to do that without notifying you and working with you, but make sure that that you're up on the most up-to-date version of whatever SIEM, Sentinel or Splunk Cloud. And if there's any hot fixes that might come out, we're going to deploy those for you and coordinate any major upgrades to the platform and log aggregation tiers. So those change, right? Especially Microsoft changes things all the time. We're going to be on top of that with you, so we make sure that SIEM stays up to date. All right, number 6, enhance your detection coverage. I talked about our SOC, which is amazing. Every alert that comes in, no matter low to high, we resolve it. We have automation built into ZTAP, so we make sure that you don't get alert fatigue. We are here 24/7, 365. So we deploy unique threat detections that are not available from vendors or third parties. We also rewrite vendor queries to improve accuracy by fixing some of the logic issues that come in. And we map all of that to the MITRE ATT&CK framework and making sure you have as much coverage of that MITRE ATT&CK as you can possibly get. The best way to get the most amount of coverage is not just having one level of detection. SIEM is one piece of it, but there's endpoint and other things that we can help you with that gives you cross coverage across that MITRE ATT&CK. We also work with you and conduct a what if analysis. So we look at the MITRE ATT&CK and what you currently have coverage with, and then we say, what if you add this, or what if we add this log source? How much additional, how much additional coverage do you get across that MITRE ATT&CK by adding these? The operational monitoring and make sure that we're getting in the data that we're supposed to get in. And again, providing that first level contact for SIEM issues, working with our SOC and having those playbooks available to know who to contact and when and how. All right, so we've talked about configuration. We've talked about the 6 ways of getting that and how we can help you. Let me just go into a few summary slides before we get into some Q&A. So with Critical Start, it's easy to quickly evaluate if you are getting the maximum return on investment from your SIEM. We provide full transparency. Whatever whatever actions we take within our ZTAP platform, you can see also. Any type of, the SOC types something into ZTAP as part of resolving the alert that comes in, you have access to that and you see that. As your partners, we relieve you of any ongoing struggle to try to balance, kind of the volume of what's coming in with the value that you're getting out of that. That's part of ingest cost analysis. That's part of configuration. That really goes back to everything that I just talked about as part of the 6 categories that we walk through. That goes through all of that. All right, now we're looking at kind of what does the whole SIEM program look like at Critical Start? From configuration and customization of customer-specific dashboards, reports, log sources, and we're always looking at cost optimization across all levels of this. Then we're going to go into a run state. And in our run state means we've already configured it, we've gone through the tuning, we've gone through all the other things that we've talked about. We're going to run health monitoring on an ongoing basis, the L1 triage, which is part of our SOC, the log sources bias that I talked about as part of ingest cost analysis. Not only is that, but we're going to take a look at if something changed, something new is available. Did you add something to your environment? Did you remove something from your environment? Do we need to adjust what log sources are coming in? And that platform management, making sure that your your SIEM is up to date and has the latest version and patches that's available to you. All right, so hopefully that got you really good information on how to optimize your SIEM. What I'd like to do is turn it back over to Jordan and see if there's any questions that we might be able to answer for you.
Thank you so much, Stephen, and great job, Stephen and Jen. We do have time for a few questions, and it does look like some have already come in. So during this time, please feel free to continue submitting your questions. And if we run out of time, then no worries, someone will follow up after with you directly with an answer. Okay, so our first question here, Stephen, if I go with managed SIEM, do I lose admin rights to my SIEM environment?
You absolutely do not. We get this question quite often. The reason I don't use the term co-managed, you can use it and you can't, and I know that's probably confusing answer. We do co-manage your SIEM, so we do not take away your admin rights. You keep your admin rights, you can add things and take away. A lot of security offerings define co-managed as they handle the SOC during the week and then turn the SOC over to a third-party provider on the weekends. That's what we don't do. The SOC is available to use 7x24, 365. But in a true definition of co-managed, we do not take away your admin rights. You keep those, no questions.
Great, thanks. Another one here. Can you please confirm what vendors you support for managed SIEM?
Yeah, so as part of our managed SIEM offering, we support Sentinel, so Azure Sentinel, and Splunk Cloud. We do not support, as part of our managed service, Splunk on-prem, but if you are an MDR only customer without managed, we add on to those to Devo and Splunk on-prem. So let me just repeat that. For managed SIEM, it's Azure Sentinel and Splunk Cloud. If you're just an MDR, and I don't mean to just say just, but if you just have MDR, you add on the capabilities around Devo and Splunk on-prem, as well as Splunk Cloud and Azure Sentinel. So hopefully that clarifies.
Thank you, Stephen. We are coming up against the time for today. Again, if your question didn't get answered, no worries. We will follow up with you directly. Thank you again for joining us. And you can visit our website at criticalstart.com and follow us on LinkedIn for more cybersecurity updates, news, and other events just like this one. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.